My name is Timmy Esson, and I'm a musician.
I'm Sky, and I'm a vocalist.
My name's Tenzin, and my art form is writing, creative nonfiction, and singing, and some visual art in there too.
Hi, my name is Ogechi, and I write.
Hi, I'm Izzy. I'm a singer, actor, and dancer, and an all-around creative.
Hi, I'm Sophia, and I'm a singer.
Art means
I think art means intentional creation in some manner that's supposed to be enjoyed in a community way, or supposed to be have some larger meaning that it represents that you've tried to give to it.
Art to me is any form of self-expression.
art is something that evokes emotion.
I think art is a form of creative expression, as we all know. Beyond that, I think for me it's an outlet.
Genuinely, and this is going to sound cheesy, art is everything to me. It's both the world itself, it's the way I perceive the world, it's the way I digest the world, it's my output of my surroundings. I think it's like the foundation for how we as humans can connect with each other. And I'm kind of speaking in the macro here. On like a smaller level, obviously it's passion and it's theories and ideas and processes. But generally it is the very like kind of creative yet also kind of like real, like very real based way that we can digest everything around us.
Art is expression, art is culture, art is feeling, and then art is trying to put all of these things together. And I think of it like in math, like when something's asymptoting towards something and it never quite actually touches it. Like art is trying to maybe model the human condition, but it's so different each time because nobody can actually quite do that. So.
And although that's a very vague definition, I feel like it really captures it. Because I also feel like it's not my job to say what art is.
Yeah, yes and no. I think growing up, like, I've kind of realized that anything, like, more things in life can be classified as art. Because, for example, like the simple things, you don't really recognize what they are as a child, but as you grow up, it's like, wow, this kind of evokes nostalgia, and so yeah, it can kind of mean more as you grow up. So I think the definition of art has changed for me growing up.
I guess art has always had the same definition for me. I've been singing since I was very small, so I think I started singing at around about 7 years old. I joined the Chester Children's Chorus. I had been going to perform in art schools since I was very small, like 3 years old, but I didn't really like start taking it like seriously until 7-ish. And honestly, when I was first doing it, it was just like very fun. The Chester Children's Chorus that I was a part of when I was 7 up until I was 18, we were really just singing like music that was popular to our households. Like we did like Stevie Wonder sets and Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, but then alongside that we also learned classical music and like art song and stuff that we weren't so familiar with. And it was really instilled in us that like we're gonna honor your upbringing and we're gonna honor the things that are familiar to you, the music that you've heard in your household and your grandparents' household, but also introduce you to something new so you can open up that world of expression.
No, I think I used to be a little bit more of like a picture frames on the wall type of person in terms of like how I would define art, just as like someone that saw a lot of picture frames on the wall and loved that type of art, and also made paintings when I was younger and was in kind of traditional art forms. I sang opera when I was a little kid and did choral music, and had a lot of like traditional kind of old compositions in German and Dutch that I sang. And so I was in that traditional, very in the canon sort of art form as a child, but I do think pretty young I started to learn and expand my view of art.
For me, maybe it's only now that I'm trying to write art that says something to the human condition. And I feel like when I started writing, I was just reading books, reading those little fantasy books, and I was kind of emulating that for my own personal enjoyment. So, and I wouldn't call what I was writing art, to be honest. I feel like maybe there's a distinction between just that kind of writing I was doing for self-gratification and art. Maybe art is more intentional. But I feel like when I began writing things for people outside myself, like it took on a lot of meaning, because like writing is very solitary. So when you're writing for others outside of yourself, immediately it introduces an audience into what is a very isolating practice. So it's always meant a lot to me.
This is a hard one for me because I feel like when I was younger, I definitely saw myself as an artist, which is, I think, is the opposite of a lot of people. Like, I sang a ton when I was younger. It was like my main thing. After school every day, I'd sing in this chorus, and we would travel and perform on television shows, and it was amazing. And I felt like, like I'm a young artist, like I'm coming into myself. And then my voice dropped, and I hated my changed voice. I was like, I'm never singing again. This is the end of my career as a singer or anything in music. And I moved on to other things. Honestly, that's when I became academic. Like, I wasn't someone that for my whole life has been super into school and academics. And I definitely got more into that as I got older and transitioned away from music. And I kept doing artistic things on the side. During COVID was really the first time I dug into visual arts and spent more time with that. And in college, I've just gotten to writing a lot more, taking creative writing workshops and just working on different forms that I love as a way of self-expression. And I think at first, when I was doing those things that were kind of like hobbies and side projects and self-care oftentimes, I didn't consider myself an artist. And I'm trying to reclaim that word because I think we all are artists in the way that we create around us and create community around us. And I think we also shortchange ourselves and others when we try to create this arbitrary bright line for how much time and how much training you have for something, and whether that is a prohibitive factor in whether you're an artist or not. I think if you make art, you're an artist.
Yes, I see myself as an artist. I, again, kind of continuously struggle with this idea of qualifications of art. I don't want art or the term artist to be an exclusive term, because we do all kind of create art throughout our lives, whether we know it or not. Telling a story is birthing art into the world, but at the same time, I do think it is something different when you put your whole person into an artistic process, and when that's what you want to lead your life with. So I'll kind of go with maybe the more latter definition.
I don't think I started seeing myself as an artist until I probably the end of high school or entering college. I did create, but I think especially as a musician, or by training, I guess, you spend a lot of time singing other people's works, learning other people's works, and in that sense you don't necessarily see yourself as a creator, but as an interpreter, right? An interpreter of someone else's message. But it wasn't until I started writing my own music or writing plays or just being more creative on my own outside of the sheet music I was given, did I consider myself an artist.
I mean, I was forced to play the piano as a kid, but I think I definitely learned to appreciate it as I got better at it. And as I had, I think my first performance really when I was 6 or 7 years old, that is when I started to really appreciate it, and actually see, when I saw people's reaction to my performance, I was yeah, wow, this is actually cool, because it means something to other people, not just me.
I had a conversation actually a couple of weeks ago where I said I was uncomfortable with people, maybe at this stage of life, at this age, I don't know, but I was uncomfortable personally with just the idea of declaring myself as an artist, because I feel like it's almost declaring yourself as like a creator of culture. And I can't like put my finger on why it makes me uncomfortable, but I feel like myself, I'm still a student of art, and I'm still learning how to write. I'm still learning what I want to write about, still trying to learn what is a meaningful story to tell. So I don't feel like I have the knowledge or even the sway to call myself an artist, even though I think, like, I know in a few years I'll change my mind. Just right now, I don't call myself an artist. Not yet.
Why art? I mean, I think art makes us all better people. And I think it gives us space to communicate in a way nothing else does.
I think art, it just has every function. It's supposed to educate us, it's supposed to encourage us, it's supposed to chastise us. And I could like keep going on forever, but I think art is supposed to kind of pull us to a mirror and make us look at ourselves very closely. You know, it's also supposed to make us laugh. It's supposed to do all the things that we can't do for ourselves just by ourselves. Like, just, it makes life beautiful. It makes life sad. It makes life reflective. It's like an enhancer, like salt on a meal.
Art is like a healing practice, can be a painful practice. It's a way to like actualize the universe in a way that like impacts people deeply. Like, you can put out a specific set of policies and you can, you know, make structural changes, and obviously that's easier said than done, but there are a lot of kind of like more direct, tangible things that you can do that often feel more real, I guess. But art can and should and is used as a way to transform people's perceptions of the world.
As I mentioned before, art has a healing aspect, right? So art can heal others and also can move people to see things in a way that they didn't see them previously. And so I think art can be an intervention, right? A health intervention, a political intervention. I also think that it can just be a way to relax, a way to express yourself, and a way to understand how someone else is feeling. So, yeah, I think art has a lot of different uses in society, but I think it should be in society and valued as an important means of expression.
It's an escape from reality and also a reality check. You know, it's a way to just kind of think of things in a different way. Sometimes if you're like, I don't know, feeling something but you can't quite put it into words, and then you see someone else on screen or like see someone else playing something that like, you know, that's, and you can say like, yeah, that's the exact feeling that like I was looking for, or like I was trying to feel. You know, I feel like art can definitely help do with that. Also, you know, it's a clever way of, you know, serving as like a social commentary on just like things that are happening in the world. Like, for some people it's hard to understand, like through the news or like, you know, through you know, social media, like how, like what things are going on, but like art can very much describe that in a personal way, and I think that's what makes it so special.
What makes something art is when you're complicating it and trying to show different perspectives and broaden what someone sees, hears, experiences in the world, and create a shared experience. And so for me, art is a form of empathy, and that's profoundly powerful. I think that's why art holds so much power in society. There's all these ways that art leads and everything else follows. And I think one thing I once heard that I loved was someone said, art, it's really cliche. Someone said, art reflects society, but also society reflects art.
I definitely identify as a Black artist. Because it fuels every part of my being. Like, I would never separate myself from being Black. And I don't want to. And I don't want others to do that to me either.
I've heard kind of, I forget which actor it was who said he didn't want to be called a black actor, he was just an actor. I'm never that way. I think my cultural identity, my racial identity is inseparable from my writing.
I don't think those things are separate. I mean, I think I'm a black artist because I'm black and an artist, but I think that's like all identities. I don't want, like, I can't be reductive about that. I'm also a gay artist. I also think like those kind of barriers of identity sometimes break down with experience and the communities you're raised around. But yeah, I'm a black artist. I'll always be a black artist. I bring the experiences with me in the art forms I can produce and put out in the world, and in every way that I take in art too.
I mean, I guess because I'm black, I guess, yeah, I'm a black artist, but like, I think I would just call myself an artist, you know, I don't, you know, have to, like, being black isn't something that kind of defines my art. I feel like I do my art because it's my art, not just because it's, you know, my skin color.
Black art to me is art that revolves around a black identity. Okay, so when you think of R&B, like that's based in black music, or like Afro beats, for example. When you're looking at playwriting, a play that is focused on describing the black experience in some way, I think all of those things can be considered black art. However, black people aren't limited to only talking about their experiences involving blackness, and so black people can create art that isn't really black art in terms of how I view it, but people may then refer to it as black art in that it was created by a black artist.
Being a black artist, inherently you're already tied to your social circumstance. So the line there is thin and honestly maybe non-existent. Maybe it's just kind of like a scale, a little spectrum, where the line between like being a black artist and expressing yourself through your social circumstance, or like inspiring a call to action with your art form. I feel like both of those things are black art. And I wouldn't say that there's actually a way to really define it. I'm trying to think if there's a strong way to define what black art is. It's black art. It's art that's related to being black. Whether that's you explicitly want to say it, that this is black art, or not, or if you just want to be a black person existing and making art. I feel like those are both fair definitions for black art.
Black art, it is both inherently political and also not inherently political. Like, it cannot be boxed into a thing. Firstly, like, making art as a black person is a revolutionary act because I guess I want to say the academe or the literati have declared for generations that we cannot be artists, and to make art anyways, it's going to be a political act. But also, black life need not inherently be political, in that we can exist without always having to fight. So in that way, it both is and isn't political at the same time, because we can just create for the sake of love and joy, sadness, and for the sake of creation. So it's just this metamorphosis, kind of impossible to categorize. It's almost one of those you see it when you know it kind of things.
Black art plays a very special role in society because there have been moments where black art has been completely ostracized, and the things that have been born out of that, the art forms that have been born out of prohibited black art or limited black art, have become so heavily ingrained in our society now. Like, I'm thinking about things like jazz. I'm thinking about even like the American drum set, which is completely born out of the fact that during enslavement here in the U.S., African drums were completely banned in the U.S. So then out of that was born the drum set that we all know that rock bands are playing in, and all our big pop stars are playing. Like, black art has completely pushed the needle in our society, in all of our music and art that we know today. Without Black art, it wouldn't exist or wouldn't be as vibrant as it is right now.
Why Black art? I mean, why Black art? Nina Simone, Kendrick Lamar, Carrie James Marshall, Beyonce. I'm like, why Black art? Virgil Abloh, like, why? Our society would be so much poorer without Black art. It's crazy. It's actually crazy.
Is this gonna be crazy to say? I don't think Black art, has to do a damn thing but be Black.
Black art, it makes us all better, I think.
Let me think. What work of art is most inspiring to me?
Work of art. That's I don't know. That's a pretty tough question.
What work of art is most inspiring to me? Honestly, there's so many, obviously. There's so many. Like, most is such a hard thing to respond to. But I'm thinking right now, there's a photograph by Tyler Mitchell called Riverside Scene that I really love. And it's beautiful. It's based off of Surratt's, like, Sunday in the Park painting, the pointillism. There's someone painting, there's boys playing in the water. And it reminded me that I think the most radical thing oftentimes that Black artists can do is show Black reprieve and rest, to show that Black people deserve beauty.
I'm just thinking about like Cynthia Erivo, specifically her performance of I'm Here every single time, but also the entirety of The Color Purple.
I listen to a lot of Steve Lacy. I don't know, the bass line is really cool. He's a good bass player.
I'm gonna name a book, and of course it's gonna be Toni Morrison because I love her. It's gonna be Song of Solomon because I feel like it wasn't until I read Song of Solomon that I truly tried to categorize my place in my work in the broader scheme of writing.
Recently, I've really been resonating with Nina Simone's To Be Young, Gifted, and Black. I don't even remember all the words, but it just goes like, to be young, gifted, and black is where it's at. It's like the song that like your grandma would sing, like walking around.
Of all time, I would probably say it's kind of an underground one. It's The Warm Up by J. Cole. He actually just released it on streaming platforms recently, and I always just listen to it like before a workout or like when I'm trying to get in the zone. And I feel like he's just so hungry in that album, and he's trying to like make it. This is before he was like J. Cole. This is like, he was like giving out mixtapes for like $1 on the street to try and like make a name for himself.